Good evening, everyone. My name is Damon Jones. I am the admission counselor at Marietta College. Actually, I'm one of the admission counselors at Marietta College. I'm here to answer any admission questions that you may have, as well as any other general question to the best of my ability, as well as Professor Katy Lustofin is here as well to kind of answer any questions that you have about her department, and we're going to ask her to kind of give an overview. Again, this is her show. I'm just kind of here to cheer her on and make sure everything goes well. So welcome, Katy.
All right, thank you. So as Damon said, I'm Dr. Lustofin. I'm in the Department of Biology and Environmental Science, and we offer 4 majors in our department: biology, health science, environmental science, and environmental studies. And so if you're thinking you want to go to PA school, med school, vet school, if you want to go to grad school in a biology or environmental science field, we're the department that you would look at. If you're pre-med, you might also consider biochemistry, which is in the chemistry department. So we have a very flexible biology degree that is a good choice if you're interested in going to grad school or medical school or veterinary school or dental school, for example. And then we also have our health science degree, which was created as a feeder major for our physician assistant program. So that's a little bit more tailored to students going into physician assistant school and making sure you get the prerequisites for that. Students who go into our environmental science or environmental studies program are often those who are going to go on to get a master's in one of those fields and do some sort of environmental work, like managing a refuge, or actually there's lots of different options. Some students go into environmental engineering, for example. So that's kind of the brief overview of our department and our majors. I don't know if there's anything else I should be adding, Damon.
No. Could you go into as much detail as you can about the courses that you teach specifically?
Okay, so I teach some classes for environmental studies, and then also a lot of the biology health science classes. So I teach some of the intro biology classes, both the first semester, which is more focused on ecology and evolution, and then the second semester, which is focused more on genetics and biochemistry. So I teach both of those classes. I also teach intro lab classes. And then for upper level classes, most of the upper level classes I teach are offered every other year, and that includes animal physiology, animal development, animal behavior, evolution, and then this year I'm teaching the capstone students. So Marietta College, every student's required to do a capstone as a senior, and in our department, that's a 3-year process where you design a project and then you conduct original research that can either be hands-on in the lab or in the field. We do have a 77-acre field station that we use for capstones, as well as various classes, or the capstone can also be literature-based depending upon your interests.
That's awesome. It's a lot of information to kind of take in. That's great, though. Great overview. Really appreciate that. What are your favorite courses to teach?
My students laugh because basically whatever class I'm teaching at the moment, I always tell them is my favorite. So this semester I'm teaching developmental biology, and I really love that because in the lab we get to actually see embryonic development of things. So one of the things that we started before we transitioned to online only is we actually bred some frogs that we have in lab, and the students got to watch the embryonic development, and then they've also got to see the development of the tadpoles now throughout the semester as the tadpoles are getting bigger. And unfortunately, because it's a little bit cool out, they haven't quite been ready to become frogs, which normally we would get to do. We also normally would get to do some chicken egg development and get to actually hatch out chickens. So this time of year, we would normally have a couple little baby chicks, and I always find students cuddling the baby chicks as they're studying for final exams. My friend who takes the chickens from me afterwards tells me they are the most human-oriented and friendly chickens he's ever had. So I love that one. I love animal behavior as well. I teach that in the fall semester, and that one is nice because my dogs often come in and do some demonstrations for that class. One of them is actually right here right now, and he's kind of trying to pester me a bit because he doesn't understand why I spend so much time on the computer these days. And the students like it when the dog demos things for them.
Great, great. What are kind of some let me see, some issues or some just kind of hardships that you are facing right now, as your courses are so hands-on, it kind of seems, and now everything's online. So how are you kind of handling that?
So for developmental biology, one of the things that we did is we set up a webcam so that the students, basically the tadpoles live streamed for about 3 weeks, and the students could log in anytime and see the tadpoles and see how they were developing. We also had, sorry, the puppy's a little noisy. This is the puppy. So we also had one of the microscopes set up so that during lab, the students got to watch the live feed, which was under a dissecting microscope, and they also got to see development under a compound microscope. And like I said, that one microscope was available for them all 24 hours a day for 3 weeks, and they could just log in anytime and see what the tadpoles were up to. So that was nice. But yeah, certainly we were not able to do any of the chicken development because, you know, it's an egg.
Yeah, understand that, absolutely. In your opinion, do you think, you know, that the students who are not there, like in doing the hands-on work, are they of any like lesser stature than students who have been able to kind of do the hands-on work? What are they missing more so?
Well, I mean, I think that they're missing some of the skills because lab classes are very skills-based. And so, for example, one of my primary objectives in developmental biology is to get the students used to doing dissections under a dissecting microscope. You don't have a dissecting microscope at home, so you can't practice that skill. On the other hand, you know, we were able to do some interesting simulations with some biochemical experiments that we wouldn't be able to do in person. And so, you know, they got a different exposure, but I don't think it was lesser.
Great. That's great. What kind of advice would you give to an incoming student who is kind of, they're not sure exactly what they want to go into? They know they want to do something with the environment. What kind of advice would you give?
So typically because I teach one of the PIO 101, the freshman seminars, and I teach that on invasive species. So I get a lot of students who aren't biology in that. And I tell all the freshmen the same thing. I think you should, I mean, you're coming to a liberal arts college, take a wide variety of classes and see what sparks your interest. What are you good at? What are you wanting to learn more about? Because that's really the best way to figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your life. Figure out what you're good at and figure out what is interesting. You don't want to do something you're going to find boring for the next 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Understand that. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about your department chair and how that person handles different situations, different things?
So I am the department chair.
Nice to know.
So, I mean, this has been an interesting semester because we've had a lot of last minute things that we've had to do. I will say this about my department in general, and that is that we are a very tight department, and the faculty get along very well. Also, we are very, you know, we have a fairly large number of students in terms of compared to some other majors on campus. But for the most part, I mean, we sat down and talked about senior capstone presentations 2 weeks ago. And for the most part, all of us had every senior who was graduating multiple times. And, you know, we were able to talk about not just how wonderful they did for their capstone, but how much they have grown over the 4 years and the changes that we've seen. And students are kind of surprised sometimes because even a couple of the capstone students I haven't had in class since they were freshmen, and they're always surprised because we see them in the building, we see each other in the building, we talk about our students. And so, you know, we know what's going on in the department in terms of our students and each other. Very, you know, we're very aware. And we work very collaboratively together as a department.
Yeah, that was kind of my next next question is how does the department kind of come together? Obviously, there's is everything is a little bit different. Not everyone is really into dissecting frogs, or so kind of how does everything come together at the end?
Well, I mean, because we each have our particular classes that we teach. Everyone teaches the freshman classes, and then upper level, we each have our area of expertise. And, that's Dr. Spilatro teaches microbiology. I would not be able to. I don't know a whole lot about bacteria. Dr. Bostrom teaches our cadaver anatomy class, and you would not want me to teach an anatomy class unless it was specifically anatomy of insects, because that's the only thing I could tell you anything about anatomically. But we all have our strengths, and I think we're very good at knowing what each other's strengths are and working together. The other thing I will say just about our department is that we genuinely enjoy each other's company. And I know a couple of years ago when we lost a faculty member who retired, we were talking about who was going to cover one of her classes, and 3 of us went kayaking together so that we could discuss who was going to take over the one class. And we literally did that while paddling on a local lake with our dogs. Because we all have dogs in this department too, and the dogs love each other and have play dates.
Awesome. So in your opinion, Professor, how can students and faculty really relate and kind of have fun and enjoy each other outside of the classroom?
Well, one of the things that we do frequently is we have work days at our field station. So we have a 77-acre natural area that's along the Little Muskingum River. We do research there, the students do research there, and then about once a month we have a work day. We go and we work on maintaining the trails and controlling invasive species there, and students can do that for extra credit, or sometimes they just come because they want to get outside. We usually do some hiking, and I know the last time we went, we actually had more dogs than students. And the dogs, their job is to love on the students while we're there. We also have a biology club that are students, not just in our majors, but we have education students and geology students and all kinds of students in the bio club. And the biology club goes camping every fall. And that's always fun. We go overnight somewhere. We have a big campfire and we do s'mores. And again, we bring the dogs. And we hike. We do a night hike with black lights and see what's out there. And we do a hike during the day as well. So that's always really, that's really popular. I think we had about 25 students on that the last time we went.
That's great. That's awesome. Very good to know that, students enjoy getting outdoors, as, right now it is kind of difficult.
Yeah.
So definitely understand that. And great to know that the participation level is high as well. So can you talk a little bit about what kind of jobs students land with biology major? And is it required that you go to grad school in order to land, a great job? Can you just talk about that a little bit?
So we do have students who get jobs straight out of with a bachelor's degree, and I see a lot of my students actually in town. So one of our former students actually works at Marietta Memorial. And I see her every time I go in for an x-ray or anything like that. And she seems to really love her job that she's doing there. We have another student who did go on to get a master's degree. And we tried to get her to do a webinar for us earlier this semester, but she's been extremely busy. She works for the Wisconsin Department of Health, and she is an epidemiologist, so she studies disease outbreaks. We have other students who go on to PA school, med school, dental school. In fact, my dentist is my former student. And his wife is a physician assistant in a dermatology office, and she is actually the PA for one of the other faculty members. So we do have a lot of students who go to grad school, but not entirely. Another one of our students, I just got an email from her. She is in charge of the Ohio Native Bee Survey, which is starting up this summer. She went to grad school and got an entomology PhD, or actually no, an entomology master's. So it's really, wide open, anything that you can think to want to do. On the environmental science side, we have students who get their environmental science degree and work for companies like Microbac, which is a local company. We have students who manage wildlife refuges. One of our students who did not go to grad school, so she has just a bachelor's. She double majored in environmental science and biology, and she actually works for the National Park Service down in Florida. We have another grad who is working for the National Park Service at Acadia in Maine. And so it's really whatever you can think to want to do in the field of biology or environmental science, health related or otherwise.
Awesome, awesome. So it sounds like a very broad topic. You know, you can kind of, once you get specific, obviously probably your junior, senior year, it's time to really specify and figure out exactly what kind of path you want to go on. So when is a good time? And obviously we know experiential learning is required at Marietta College. So when is a good time, you know, kind of, can you talk a little bit about internships and when's a great time for students to do that opposed to what you would not recommend in that situation?
So students are required to do an internship as part of the biology and health science and environmental studies majors. And we recommend students do that anytime from summer after your freshman year through summer of junior year. Most of our students do choose to do them during the summer, although you don't have to. You can do them during the school year. Almost all of the internships that our students do are paid internships, so you don't work for free too often. And typically it's a way to explore what you want to do. So we had a student a couple years ago who thought he wanted to go to vet school. He interned at a vet's office during the school year. He decided that that was not really what he wanted to do with his life. He then did a summer internship at a zoo, absolutely loved that, and that is what he does now. He works at a zoo. I forget which zoo it is. We have another student who also did an internship at a zoo, thought it was the most wonderful thing in the world, and she now works at the Columbus Zoo full-time. We've had students do internships at medical offices. One of our students actually had no idea what he wanted to do with his life, got an internship over the summer. Got an internship over the summer at a chiropractor's office. Impressed the chiropractor so much that the chiropractor offered him a job after he graduated from chiropractic school. And when the chiropractor retired, that student inherited the business, basically, was able to buy the guy out. So it's anything that you would want to do. We help you find the internship. And you can do it where you live if you want to do it in the summer, or you can do it here if you want to do it during the year. It's entirely up to you.
Awesome, awesome. Can you kind of point, if I was a student, for instance, just point us in a direction of, you know, what internships are the best as for just any general, just I'm not sure what I want to do. I'm still not sure after my freshman year. What exactly, you know, what should I do?
So typically what we find is when we sit down and talk to a student, they have classes or aspects of classes that they liked or didn't like. And we can start to narrow it down. Maybe you really liked modern biology, but you didn't like intro to cell and molecular biology. Then we're probably going to tell you, let's not do an internship at Microbac, but let's think about maybe doing an internship at the Ohio River Islands National Wildlife Refuge. Or let's think about doing an internship somewhere else. Typically, if you're undecided at the end of your freshman year, we're not going to ask you to do an internship in between freshman and sophomore year. Maybe take a couple classes sophomore year that are more specific to certain fields. Maybe take an anatomy class, maybe take ecology class, and figure out what you like. And then we help you find an internship summer between sophomore and junior year that's more tailored to what you want to do.
Absolutely, that's great, great information to know as a student. Just again, as it kind of seems that more and more students are just so indecisive and not sure exactly what they want to do. So that's great to know. Can you talk a little bit how, as you kind of referenced it a little bit just in that last piece, but just how hands-on that you personally work with students when it comes to helping students make that decision about, the rest of their life.
So we have an internship coordinator who's got fingers in many pots and can help you find your internship. But of course, as a student at Marietta College, you have an academic advisor who hopefully by the end of your freshman year is someone in your major. And so when I meet with my students, if they don't know what they like, I have a student right now who's, she just finished her sophomore year. She has no idea what she wants to do with her life within the field of biology. And so we sat down and we talked about what classes she had taken that she enjoyed and did well in, what classes she had taken that she really didn't enjoy, and planned out what she's going to do next year in terms of classes to fine tune that a little bit more, so that she can really kind of narrow down. She's decided she likes plants. She doesn't like genetics. That's pretty much as far as we've gotten. So she's going to take another plants class in the fall. And then once she's done that, and she's going to take, I forget what other biology class she's taking in the fall, maybe toxicology. Then we're going to revisit the internship idea and really figure out, if she loved that plants class and not so much the toxicology class, we can get her an internship at the Ohio River Islands National Wildlife Refuge. That's a mouthful.
It is.
Or one of the other local places that we know of doing something like invasive species control, right? Working with plants, working with the environment. If on the other hand, she decides she loves toxicology, we can see if one of the labs at the hospital would be able to have her for an intern. We could also get her an internship at some of the other more toxicological places, which honestly, I don't plug students into that. So I would be calling up one of my colleagues who's more in that field and asking him, who do you know who could give her an internship in this area? And so we have a lot of connections to people in this area and throughout the state that we can help get students internships with. And sometimes that internship is when you find out you really don't like something. We had a student do an internship where she thought she wanted to go into medical research, spent a summer doing medical research, and decided she wanted to do anything but that for the rest of her life. And that's a good part. I mean, you wasted a summer, you didn't waste a year of grad school, you didn't waste any more time. And so we consider that a positive outcome if the outcome of your internship is you decide that is not what I want to do with my life.
Absolutely. You're ahead of where you started. So
we also have research opportunities for students within the department. So if you want to do research, we have investigative studies as part of the college. You can do that during the summer or during the school year. So if you want to do research with a professor, you can get college credit for that. So we have one professor who's been working on looking at manganese air pollution in this area and developing a better air quality model based on the air quality readings and also some data from lichens that he's collected. And he's had students work either in the field with him, collecting lichens, in the lab with him, doing the manganese analysis of the lichens, or even on the computer working with the modeling software. I had a student last summer who helped me with my bee research, and he spent a lot of hours in my lab washing bees, pinning bees, and learning how to identify different species of bees. So it's really just, there's lots of opportunities. You just have to let someone know that you're interested. And that can be by actually just coming up to your academic advisor or your professor and saying, I'm interested. Or it can be if you're asking a lot of the right questions in class, we might come to you and say, hey, you seem really interested in this. Would you like to come do some research with me?
Great. So there's lots of opportunities, overall, and that's awesome. I feel like as a student, that's really all you can ask for. It's what you look for. So it sounds like the biology department is not a bad place to be.
I think it's not.
Right, which is great. And it's great, I think it's awesome that you guys really are hands-on with students and, you're right there to kind of let them know, hey, this is what we expect, and from here, this is what should we do. So I think that's great and very helpful as well. So at this time, we don't have any more questions. So I think, as long as if there's anything else you'd like to say, please feel free. If not, if you could just provide our viewers with your contact information very slowly
Yes.
as they might need some time to jot it down. But if you could just provide them with that, just with any questions they have about biology, they can shoot them your way as well. You feel free to shoot them my way. I will not be able to answer them, so they will end up going to Professor Lustofin anyway. So if you could just do that for me, that'd be great.
Sure. So probably the best way to get a hold of me, particularly during the summer, is email. And my email address is KS, as in Samantha, L002 at marietta.edu. So it's just my initials, KSL002.
Awesome.
And you can find that on the website too. If you look up the biology website, you can find my email address there too.
Awesome. Do you, is there actually a biology kind of department page?
Yes, there is.
Yeah. Is it within the Marietta.edu, like the actual browser?
Well, there's a couple of different pages, but if you search just Marietta College biology, you'll get it.
Great. Okay. That's awesome. Great to know. And what kind of information can be found on that page? Can you talk a little bit about that before we go?
Well, maybe I can say something about that, because
okay.
there's the website for recruitment, and then there's the website maintained by the department, and so I don't actually know what's on one versus the other. But in general, it will give you some information about the classes you can take, about the majors and the minors. And I think there's also a thing there where you can request more information, indications of different internships you can do in different careers. Yeah.
Great. So it sounds like it's a pretty informative and well put together website, huh?
Yeah, it is. And then we've also got some different resources related to things that we're doing, like animal identification and stuff that's there too. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Professor. Greatly appreciate it. And we'll look forward to talking with you soon.
All right. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you.